Okay, we are back with the 5th episode of Star Wars Battlefront 2, Possible Heroes and Reinforcements. This is going to be the start of the reinforcement part of the series instead of doing just heroes and villains like the last 4 episodes have been. Link to those are in the description and they will be at the end of the video. Just a reminder of the factors I'm going to go through in order to determine if the character has a chance of being added. This is only canon material and no legend stuff. RIP legend stuff. First, there is the lore. This is a small summary of their backstory. I won't be doing an entire lore episode. There are plenty of other channels for that. I'll have some links to them in the description. Second, what type of season they could appear in. We know Disney, EA, DICE plan to do seasons of content instead of the standard DLC way. You know, season pass or that type of stuff. We already knew that the first season was The Last Jedi, and which is now over, and we're approaching the second season, which has not been revealed yet. Third, we have gameplay and abilities, a well thought out way that these heroes or reinforcements could play out and what kind of abilities they could have. Fourth, we have likeliness of being added. This is a factor I thought would be interesting to cover. It would be how likely out of 10 they would be added, so 7 out of 10, 5 out of 10, 1 out of 10, stuff like that. So for today's episode, we're doing a reinforcement. Reinforcements are a weird part of Star Wars Battlefront 2. We basically have 2 reinforcement classes right now. The Aerial, which is the Jet Trooper, and all the other jetpack classes for all the factions. And we have the Enforcer, which is the second class, the tank, I would call it, which is the Death Trooper and the Wookiee, really. Oh yeah, and there's a Flamethrower. And then third, we have on the way is something called the Sentinel class. The only unit in the Sentinel class that we know right now is the Clone ARC Trooper and the Rebel Pilot. Well, it's 2, but the Rebel Pilot isn't skinned. It's just like a blue model right now in like the leaked videos. But the Clone ARC Trooper seems pretty much done. Well, not really done, but it's getting there. The reinforcement we're covering today is going to be the Empire Shadow Trooper. A fairly unique variant of the Stormtrooper. So, onto the lore. Well, there isn't any in the current Disney lore. They were only reintroduced to the lore in DICE's NDA's Star Wars Battlefront back in 2015. So, we know they can cloak, and that's about it, and they wear black armor. That's it. Because there hasn't been any real backstory or lore. I mean, the legend stuff, there was a whole lot of legend stuff on them. And, you know, Disney just being lazy, instead of actually going through a lot of the lore, they just, you know, said everything that's not the movies before us isn't canon. And the TV show, Clone Wars. Yeah, Disney. Ooh. Only if someone else bought it. But yeah, back to the stuff. The only real lore we have is that the Star Wars wiki doesn't list them as part of it doesn't say that they're special forces. It just says that they're part of the regular Stormtrooper Corps. Like here, take some other units of the Empire, like the Storm Commandos that were reintroduced to canon, the Inferno Squad and Task Force 99. The Storm Commandos are aligned specifically with the 501st, and the 501st isn't technically part of the Stormtrooper Corps. They're only directly under Darth Vader, so they're more of they're kind of like the Waffen SS, where they answer to a government force. Same with Inferno Squad. Inferno Squad isn't listed under the Stormtrooper Corps. They're again aligned with directly to the government, like the German, like Hitler's Waffen SS that didn't actually listen to the they didn't have to listen to the Wehrmacht. They weren't part of the Wehrmacht. They were part of the government. And then we have Task Force 99. If you don't know who Task Force 99 is, it's a new kind of Imperial Commando kind of... They're like the Republic Commando game, except they're Imperial, and they're kind of neat. They're called Special Commando Advanced Recon Troops, or SCAR. I don't know. They do belong to the Stormtrooper Corps, which I think is fairly interesting. So yeah, that's about as much lore as we can get. So for what type of season that the the Shadow Trooper could be included in, well, it's kind of hard to say. They were only in the Battlefront 2015 lore. And there's not much lore on them, like I said. DICE just wants to add them between seasons. This could work. They do plan on smaller pieces of content, like Iden's TIE Fighter we got in patch 1.1. So, I think it'd be pretty easy just to add Shadow Troopers in between, or maybe the Sentinel class in between seasons. So, Shadow Trooper gameplay and abilities. This is also hard to say, because we can't really put them in the existing Aerial and Enforcer classes. The Empire already has these covered, unless the future they want to make the Death Troopers map specific and make the Shadow Troopers regular. But Shadow Troopers I don't think are very good enforcers. They're not tanks. They're spec ops, I guess you'd call it. I think the best solution, and for unit variety, is there to be a fourth reinforcement class, called something like the Ranger or maybe the Infiltrator. Make these units focused on stealth and flanking rather than what seems to be mobility with the Aerial Union and a tank with the Enforcer. Yes, so if I'm gonna go with the other factions, if they got like a Ranger or Infiltrator, I would definitely give the Both and Spy. Not sure what the clones and the Republic would get. The Rebels, or not the Rebels, the Resistance, not sure what they would get. Their lore isn't fleshed out at all. So for their abilities, obviously they have to have the ability to cloak. That's pretty much a given. For their second ability, I would give them a scan pulse, or maybe that can be their ultimate, like a scan pulse that reveals all enemies around them. I would also give them the ability to use a radar jam that disrupts all the enemies' radars for a few seconds. This would enable them to help the team and be able to sneak around the map a little bit more effective, especially after they could radar jam, cloak up, and get around the map. This would be a lot easier if we had a Conquest or Carrier Assault mode, or even a Command & Conquer Renegade style game mode. Go look up Command & Conquer Renegade and tell me you don't want that, but Star Wars. If you want a more recent version of Command & Conquer Renegade, look up Renegade X. Tell me you don't want that, but Star Wars. It's an amazing game. Well, now on to the likeliness of being added. I give them an 8 out of 10. I mean, the model was used in the last Battlefront and became a pretty big part of that game. Since it was the reward for reaching the last level. I mean, also, it was really heavily used in Arcade, where we saw their cloaking ability. Unless DICE wants to use the Storm Commandos instead, I don't see that the Shadow Trooper will not be added at some point in the future. I mean, DICE is the one who made them canon again. But next time, we'll do a light side reinforcement. I'm not sure if it will be another, what class it will go into, like this. If it will go into the same class as the Shadow Trooper or not. So yes, bye.
Elite agent deployed! We all move together!
We're detecting major damage to the walker. Maintain the barrage.
I'm ready to go. I'm on the clock. Surveying the walker. Visible damage.
leader arriving. Fall in. Walker hit. Jamming. Walker at the second checkpoint. We're running out of time.
Enemy commander landing. Be prepared. Solid hit on the AT-AT. That rocket less than dead.
I'm ready. Walker on final approach. It has to fall now. Rebel forces defeated. All troops withdraw. It's time we left Endor behind.